The chair recognizes the senator from Middlesex, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon to our colleagues. I rise in support of this important legislation, which is known as an Act to Diversify the Use of Workforce Training Funds to support the Workforce Competitiveness Trust Fund. Recently, Governing Magazine named Massachusetts the strongest state economy in the nation due to our relatively low unemployment rate and strong growth. That said, as we all know, we still face some very significant challenges, many of which are shared nationally by other states. Perhaps the most significant of those is that too many of our working families are desperately struggling to make ends meet and to be able to find employment that pays a quality wage to help support a family. And then at the same time, we have many of our employers. In fact, according to a 2015 survey by the Massachusetts Business Alliance for Education, we have as many as 2/3 of our employers who report that they have trouble finding workers with the appropriate skills to fill the jobs that they have available. And many of these jobs are jobs that pay a good wage, or are known as middle skills jobs that you can support a family. So this legislation before us today is significant because it will directly help to address both of these significant challenges facing our state and facing many of our working families and our communities. And particularly, it'll help those help our employers in terms of filling these sometimes hard-to-fill jobs, and particularly for workers who face greater barriers to employment. The legislation does this by providing a sustainable funding mechanism for the Workforce Competitiveness Trust Fund by allocating up to 5% annually of the funds from the Workforce Training Fund. The Workforce Competitiveness Trust Fund was created by the Economic Stimulus Act of 2006, and it was originally capitalized with $18 million. It is administered by Commonwealth Corporation on behalf of the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development. The WCTF funds regional sector training partnerships across the state with the goal of placing unemployed and underemployed workers in jobs that are in demand and that pay a quality wage. The WCTF grants typically bring together employers in a particular sector. They include workforce investment boards, career centers, vocational technical schools, community colleges, and typically workforce training providers in that part of the state. The WCTF model is based on strong partnerships with local employers, which ensures that there are real jobs available at the end of the training program, and that the skills of the participants match the employer's workforce needs. Since 2007, the WCTF has developed and funded 46 sector and regional partnerships across the state. The average hourly wage for individuals that have gone through this program, been trained, and been placed in good jobs in the 15 most recent partnerships is $14.80. The WCTF also has leveraged over $18 million in matching funds from the business community and from philanthropy. So it has an extremely strong return on investment on the public dollars that are spent. So in summary, the WCTF is arguably the state's most important and most successful job training program for those individuals who are facing unemployment or underemployment, where they are having difficulty supporting themselves and their families. And this is, again, particularly true for those people who are facing barriers to employment. The challenge for the WCTF and what this legislation seeks to address is that its funding has been inconsistent over the years. In fact, in many of the past 10 years, the WCTF has received zero funding in the state budget. So that's what the bill before us today seeks to remedy. By transferring 5% of the roughly $22 million that flows into the Workforce Training Fund each year from employer assessments, the WCTF will now have a reliable and predictable funding stream of approximately $1.1 million each year. The bill also ensures that the WCTF grants are performance-based, with 50% paid upon enrollment of individuals in the program, and the remaining 50% to be paid contingent on job placement and retention outcomes. I want to thank the coalition that has worked very hard to move this bill forward. This coalition includes the Workforce Solutions Group, the members of the business community, workforce boards, labor unions, job training providers, and advocates for low-income workers and their families. I also want to thank my House Chair on the Labor and Workforce Development Committee, Representative Paul Broder, for his good work on this issue, as well as Representatives Joe Wagner and Ken Gordon, who have also been longtime advocates on this issue. But most of all, I want to recognize and thank our dear friend and colleague, Senator Ken Donnelly, who is deeply missed by all of us. Senator Donnelly was not only the lead sponsor of this bill, but as you all know, a longtime champion for job training and workforce development programs that help lift people out of poverty with good quality jobs that can support a family. I strongly support the amendment that Senator Friedman will be offering in a moment, which will rename the grants that are made by the Workforce Competitiveness Trust Fund as the Senator Kenneth J. Donnelly Workforce Success Grants. I urge your support for this legislation, and I ask that when a vote is taken, it shall be taken by a call of the yeas and nays.
To be taken by a call of the yeas and nays, so joining with rise and be counted.